All right. Apart from this one, we have the hash value. We have the ref. We have something like name. So these errors, they will break the visual flow of your spreadsheet and they look unprofessional in the report. But what do they mean? Like NA is basically, it means there'll be, I keep forgetting about making this notes on this. NA means value not found. Uh-huh. Div/0 means division by 0. So it happens when you divide by a cell that is empty or contains 0. This hash value is for wrong data type. Usually when you are trying to do math and you are using a text value, it's going to show you this hash value. While ref is broken reference, maybe the cell, your formula is trying to point to has been deleted or something else, right? So the next one is this name, which is Excel does not recognize the formula name. So it normally happens when you have type an error while trying to enter. You made a mistake while entering the name. Sorry, please, let me. So that's what these errors mean. So like I said, they'll break the visual flow and they don't look professional. Imagine you have some of this around here, and you have maybe what will be common around here might be NA, or in revenue. Okay, revenue, there's no division by 0, so we won't even say 0. But let's look at some things we can do. Okay, because if error is what you use to solve a lot of this problem to avoid having these messages or these error messages sent to you, because it will wrap, if error will wrap around any formula, so that if the formula works, it will show the results. If the formula produces an error, you can now control what it shows, even though it's an error. It's not as if the formula worked, but you can control what you want it to show. We saw an example of this when we were doing performance flag. I think it was when we were doing performance flag. Okay, I removed the if error message. Okay, I removed it, so we can do it again. So assuming we want to do the same thing we did with performance flag, because we are using, what's it called? The revenue column to make this performance flag. So assuming, no, not this will not work. Let's look at other examples first. We'll think about how to deal. Let's use a simple example first. We said if you want to use if error, you wrap it around the formula. Assuming now I have 22, and I said it's 22. We want to do 22 divided by 0, and you click on enter. As you can see, the error message is division by 0, and of course you know that the reason is because you divided by 0, and sometimes it might even help and show you what the problem is, right? So you divided it by 0. Now this could be a column, right? This could be a column that you have here with a lot of numbers that need to be divided by something, another column. So you can set an if error, because it's possible that there might be a stage where the division might be by 0 or a blank. If the cell is blank or is a 0, it's going to flag it as division by 0. So how do you use if error to avoid that problem? Let's say here we have 100, 200 rather. Here we have 250. Here we have 300, right? 150, and so on and so forth. Here we have 50, 20, 0, 50. Let's say we have 400 here, and then we leave this one blank, and then we have 50 here again, and 450. So let's assume that for whatever reason you are trying to create a formula that will divide this column by this column and give you the answer here, right? So we can start the formula like this. We say it's equal to this row cell divided by this, right? And it will give us the answer, which is 200 divided by 50 is 20, is 4. So you can drag this down to the rest of the cells, right, to autofill the formula. And you find out that you have two errors for div by 0, where what you're dividing by is 0 and where it's blank, right? So either if it is 0 or blank, it will give the same error. It will give this error. The reason why it's important is because if you have like large data set and you come across this error, you should be able to tell immediately that, okay, this is what is happening. Is it a mistake that needs to be fixed, or is it a mistake that needs to be masked, right, with if error? So obviously, assuming for whatever reason this one is actually 0 and this one is missing and there is nothing you can fill there. So this is where if error comes into play, because this doesn't look nice. If you are reporting, if you are submitting this file and you'll be asked, what's div 0? Why is this there? You can't leave that. Obviously, everybody knows it's an error. So how do you fix it? You would use an if error, right? So instead of having this particular formula where you just say it's equal to this cell divided by this cell, you will wrap your formula in with an if error message, right? So it's going to be is equal to if error function rather, this divided by this, right? Then what will happen if it doesn't get the answer? If it is divided by 0, tell it, you should say division by 0 by 0, right? Or you can even spell it out in case if the person that is reading it doesn't know math. So the person doesn't know that you cannot divide by 0. You can even say cannot divide by 0. So what this is saying is do this normally, right? Divide what is here by here. But if you get an error, I want to control the message. Instead of showing the error, show cannot divide by 0. Now, of course, the first one, it works. But when you drag it down, you find that where you have 0 and blank space, it will tell you cannot divide by 0. So this is how you use if error. There are a lot of ways you can use it. I think we did it yesterday. I can't recall where it is. But this is how you can use if error to control your output. Any questions so far? Believe none. So if you look at it, it means I think we have count if here. Okay, our count ifs are in the order. So in most formulas that you think you might come across an error, you can use if error, especially when you are talking about something like average, right? You should wrap it in if error so that you avoid any problem that might come up. So it's that simple. But let's look at one more practical use. Say I want to calculate let's take this out. In fact, let's delete all of this. Assuming let's calculate something else. Let's call this particular column revenue per unit. Say I want to calculate the revenue per unit for each transaction, which is basically revenue divided by units sold. You want to see how much was made per unit, right? Per unit, because some of the transactions, 34 units were sold, 45 units were sold, and so on and so forth. So you would like to calculate how many were sold per unit for each transaction. So we have the label, the header there, and here we can use if error to make our calculation. So it's going to be if error, so that where you don't have units sold, you can just instead get your if error. So your revenue per unit sold is going to be this divided by unit sold, this, right? That's it. But you now provide the error message. What do you want it to tell you when it can't find unit sold or revenue? So we are expecting NA. Instead of it showing us an error, we want it to say NA, where there is no revenue or there's no revenue sold, right? So anywhere this actually fails, it should show NA instead of doing the calculations. So that's exactly what if error does. As you can see, there is NA where it fails, NA. All these places have missing units sold, which will mean that they have missing revenue. NA. So this is how you control your errors. Because had we didn't use this particular if error and we just said is equal to I2 divided by what's the revenue unit sold column G2. Look at it. It's going to return a value error, right? it will return a value error. And what did we say commonly value error means? It means you are trying to do a mathematical calculation with something that is not a number. So this is the value error it's showing. All right, so instead of that, and we said we will use the if error to handle the error, and then that's it. It's very, very simple to use. Any questions so far? This one is simple, huh? Or does anyone have any question? None. All right. The next thing we have on our agenda after this if error stuff is sum product, which is the power function, right? Now, the problem with some products, I've seen a lot of people struggle with it, is that it's one of those functions that it will look complicated at first, but once you understand it, you use it constantly. So let's start with a particular concept first, right? Before the formula. Okay, so how do I put it? Some product multiplies corresponding values in two or more arrays and then adds up all the results. So an array, when I say array, is just a range of cells, right? A column or a row of values, they are all arrays. Simple example. Imagine you are calculating the total sales value, right? You have quantities. Let's do it around here, I think. These are the quantities you have: 5, 3, 8, 2, right? And then your prices, you have 100, 250, 75, 400. So total value, right? Normally, it's going to be, if you are looking for total value, this one is the unit price, this one is the quantity. The same way we calculated, what's it called, revenue. Revenue is units times quantity times unit price. This unit sold is basically quantity times unit price. So it's the same thing here. So the way you get the total is it's going to be 5 times 500, 100, meaning it's going to be equal to this times this, right? You get that, and then you do that for the whole thing, and then you get your sum, right? This is how you find the total, right? So this is how you find the simple total sales, right? Now, the advantage of sum total is that it will do this entire calculation in one formula, because you are looking at this because we had to do two steps. We had to calculate the revenue of each sale, and then we took the total sales, right? So, but the advantage of some product is that it does that entire calculation in one formula. So some products will be like you are wrapping the whole of the list, and then the whole of the quantity, and then the unit price, both of them as arrays, and then it multiply it for you. Now, the way to do this, we need to use it in our data set so that you see it. Because in our data set, unit sold times unit price for every row all added together, that will be total revenue calculated from scratch, right? So what I'm trying to say is, the way we got the revenue here, if you don't have this column and they ask you what's the total revenue, you would have done unit sold times unit price to get the revenue, and then right at the bottom there or somewhere you can just calculate it's equal to sum, and then you sum the whole thing here. Now we are saying some products will do it easily with one particular formula. So to do this, let's go to our business insight sheet actually, and let's go down, look for somewhere around here. Let's call this some products examples, for instance. All right, we are trying to see some examples, right? Let's call B51 total revenue. Let's say calculated from scratch so that you can know what we are trying to do. And then here, we'll do the calculation here. So it's equal to some products, and then we go to this particular sheet, our data sheet, and then we select, this time we are not selecting the whole column, we select where there is data, right, comma, which is the unit sold, comma, and then we'll now select unit price as well. Once we are done with that, we'll now close it. So is equal to some products. You select the list, the column of units sold and the column of unit price. So it will now be left to this, using this formula, to be left to Excel to do the multiplication first and then add the result of the product. That's basically what some product means. To do the multiplication and add the result of the product. So it's straightforward. So you now have a full figure without you. So if for whatever reason you don't have the revenue and you just want to get some total revenue, you can just use some product instead. It comes in handy separate in a lot of ways, but this is one of the ways you can use it. So this will multiply every unit sold value by its corresponding unit price, and then adds all the results of that multiplication together, right? That will give us total revenue calculated directly from the source data, not from the revenue column, because you can do the same with this revenue column, but we are saying how do you calculate it directly from the source data, right? So now we should be able to make sense with this because we have a revenue column, right? Total revenue by region. We have a total revenue by region column. Okay, we didn't take the total. So assuming we look for the total here, so we should be getting similar figure is 336 million. So here we should be getting 36 million as well. So it's the same thing, right? So that's exactly what it is. It is important because some product will give you a way to verify your revenue column. So if there's any mistake in your revenue column, the figures will not be the same, will not be equal. So if the two numbers are very different, then something is wrong with the data itself, right? Because revenue is unit sold as unit price, and you did some product but you didn't get the same thing. It means there's an issue. All right, so let's look at our dynamic summary before we eat up our time for the night. A dynamic summary is basically one where you type a particular criteria in one cell and the entire table updates automatically to show results for that criteria. You don't need to rewrite formulas, just change one cell, right? So we have our business insights, and let's get down here. Let's say at about here, we should call this dynamic region summary. Then here we type, let's say select your region. This is what happens if you come unprepared for a class. You have the metric, you have the results, right? Let's call this, let's bold this two as well. Increase the, let's make this 22, right? All right, so this should not be here. This should be here, I think. All right, so right below this metric, one of the metrics we have will be the transaction count, right? And then we would have total revenue. We would have average revenue. We would have highest single transaction. Uh, and then lowest single transaction. All right, so the next is building our dynamic summary. So right here, the transaction count, if you want to count, we use count if, but like I said, let's be using the best practice now. Introduce an if error, count if uh, you want so let's first check. Um, all right, let's see if it will work the way I think it should. Let's check the D column. And then what's the so B62, right? I know. I'm not done. B62, if I'm not mistaken. Then I'm looking at and then it works for the average should also be if error. I'll explain this when I'm done. If error average, if we need the sales data region, then B62, then all right. The next one is if error highest single transaction is MAXIFS, and this time same thing. No, sorry, we are not using the don't mind me. I think we'll just use the of course the maximum revenue, then this, then B62, then our if error condition. How am I doing now? MINIFS. So the idea is, what I want to say is, if I come here and I type Kano, yawa, this is what I was thinking. This is what I was looking for, if it is going to work. If I type Abuja, it will work. What if I add, can I add, where is it now? Validation. We have Kano, Abuja, Kaduna, Lagos, Ibadan, Katsina, Port Harcourt. I think we have all this here. So when you choose another state, all right. I was just trying to look at a simple dynamic summary, which you can easily change without having to do it for every single column, right? Now, how did we make this? I don't know, Mr. Steven. I know I was talking to myself when I was doing it, but were you able to follow?
Yes, I was following.
I don't have to explain, or should we?
I don't have to explain, or should we? I don't explain.
So you see the advantage of advantages of if error, because it helped us. It was like a placeholder for us. Let me remove what is in this particular cell. So I wanted this placeholder that I should have even done it here, but let me cut this, put it here. Or yeah, so that we can use this for the select region. So let's look at the first one. We want to see the transaction count, but we don't want it to be fixed since we have different region. So we want to create some formulas that would be able to change dynamically when we type in something or input something. For instance, normally if you want to count transactions, you use count if, you tell it what column you want to count, right? Let's do it. Let's act as if we want to do it all over. Normally you have your count if, right? And then you tell it which column you want to count. Like in our case, the region, right? Sorry, is it the region we counted first? Yeah, we counted region, how many times a particular region appeared, meaning how many transactions was carried out in any particular region at a time. Cool. So we count that, but the thing is, we've not provided any particular region for it to count. Instead, we gave it a placeholder. We now said B62. This is a placeholder, right? B62. Now, when you run this, normally you will get 0 because there is nothing in that B62. I think it's B62. Yes, there's nothing there. So to avoid any error that might come up based on the fact that you are not doing anything to it, is the reason why we used if error to control it. That okay, even if this does not work, don't give me an error, just show me 0. That's why all work. So apart from counting the transactions here, the transaction count, we used it to count transactions. Now the total revenue, we still used, instead of count if, we now summed the revenue column. How do you sum the revenue column? Based on a particular condition. We are saying we want to sum the revenue column based on a particular condition. Now, if I come here and I don't use the error, I don't use the error message, the if error, and I just, let me copy this, right? And I just come to this place like this, I typed what I wanted. Okay, I didn't put the equality sign. Typed what I wanted. It's going to give 0, even though I was thinking, this doesn't return an error. I don't know whether they fix it. We should be seeing some errors here because it's checking something that doesn't exist since B62 has no data there. But notwithstanding, we just use the if error to control what we get, because what we are using as our filtering condition is empty for now, this particular filtering condition. That is why we are getting 0 for all the returned value. So for count if, we are saying count the region column, and for this particular region, B62. Initially, that particular region you used would hold a particular data. Like for instance, this transaction count is also, we also use count if here. But when we say count the region column, we now say A7. And A7 happens to be Abuja. So what it will do is it will count all the entries of the region column that are Abuja, and to give the response, which is 28. But right now, we don't have anything that we are counting. We left it blank here. So it counted and we said B62. It took the total revenue. We gave it the region to be B62, and but it's still empty. Average revenue region is B62. Maximum, you first tell it what you'd have to change it, rearrange it when it comes to maximum and minimum. Maximum, you tell it where is it looking for the particular data, which is the revenue, the maximum revenue, and then you now give it the condition to filter by. So we said it should check the maximum revenue for where the region is B62. This one, minimum for where the region is B62. Now, it is dynamic because anytime you type a region here, it will change. It will show you the record instead of 0. If you type a region, it will show you the record instead of 0. If you use Ibadan, it will show you the record instead of 0, right? So, and I said typing it out is stressful. So I was thinking maybe we can just use a data validation so that we can have a drop down that can just give us the data. We have the list of our states here, right? We have the list of our states here. Assuming in the B62, we now decided to do some data validation. Let's say a list, and we now pasted and paste what I copied. Didn't I copy it? All right, so I now have the entries here. So anytime I want to pick a state, I don't need to type it. I can just pick the states to tell us the transaction count, the total revenue, average revenue, highest single this is very, very important, highest single transaction and lowest transaction. How do you make dynamic summaries, right? So instead of filtering for each state, you can just use a dynamic summary and then use a drop down to select where you want, what you want, and to be fine. So that's that. Any questions so far? Any question, Mr. Steven?
None from here for now. I will check again.
You check it back?
Yes.
All right. So that's how it works. Basically, you would pick a state, and then you can have it as easy as that. So that's a dynamic summary. And as you can see, it helps all the results update automatically. All right. This is the beginning of what we have next, which is the dashboard, right? This is just like thinking we are about to start, we are working on going into creating interactive dashboard. So one input cell, you have a drop down for easy selection. You have 5 automatic outputs that would show you a result. Please, if for today, at least, I think this is the main thing you need to learn. For that SUMPRODUCT, I'll make a video on it. We don't need to address it in our next class. So, and I think the dashboard is not next week, it's week 6. But we'll take this particular concept and turn it into a full visual dashboard with charts. But today we've seen the logic, right, this night. And this is the last thing I think we have on our agenda. But we do have, I intentionally, because the last 3 weeks were just the Excel basics, I didn't plan for any assignment for that. But there will be an assignment today that will be due Friday. It's okay now. You have from Monday to Friday. And then you'll be able to do it. I won't even share it in the WhatsApp group. It's going to be in the Google link. Maybe I'll share the Google Classroom link again, assignment link to you guys so that you can see it. So it's going to be in line with hello?
Yeah, so it's a question, like the formula, maybe like you can click back on one of the, maybe the 40.
Okay.
The 0 at the back before closing the bracket.
After closing the bracket?
Like before closing the last bracket.
Yeah.
What?
It's we use error handling now. We say
error, yes.
So if for whatever reason, we just want to get used to using it. If for whatever reason this doesn't work, just return 0. Don't give me an error.
0. Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's that. So I'll post the assignment, I think, tomorrow morning so that you guys can see it. It's basically what we've done for the week. It's almost the same thing. You just have to do it your own way. It will cover everything we've done this week, just this week. Those that have passed. So you read the brief carefully before starting, and that's all. It's not going to take much. All right, so that's week 4. Not complete because we've not done SUMPRODUCT. So I'll send a video for SUMPRODUCT. But we've done the 4 major functions, we've done error handling, we created a dynamic summary with a drop-down, right? This particular drop-down here. For now, you now have the core analytical toolkit of a working Excel analyst without, of course, the charts and the dashboard. Everything from here would build on what we've done already, especially what we've learned just this week. Most of the things will build on what we've learned this week, because next week we'll do index match and dates and text functions, and then we'll move beyond lookups, right, and into more sophisticated data manipulation, just simple data manipulation, because the main data manipulation, of course, is going to be in Python. Like I said, the assignment is due on Friday, and that's all. Good night. So you hear from me, I think. I'll try and send the video Tuesday latest, but your assignment will be, I'll send it tomorrow. Not really. All right. Good night.
Good night, sir.
Good night. I didn't say anything today.